I have a co-host with me here, and he has not made it yet. So just trying to buy a little time till some other people join. So we did have about 40 people register, so I think 40. I was up to about 30. So I was hoping for a few more people to show. Apparently, a lot of people watch the replay though, because we get fairly good numbers on that. So the agenda is we normally do a welcome, then I cover platform things of note. Ralph should be here shortly. He's going to talk about Power Platform in an hour and kind of the return to basics. So we haven't had a meeting in a couple months because we have been with the holidays and everything. So we just thought we would start out this new year by covering like a basic, hey, these are the most important things that you should know about the Power Platform for people who are new. That should be, just like an introductory thing for people who are pretty familiar with it. It might be a good time for you to catch up on the latest and greatest because Microsoft always seems to be updating the Power Platform and pushing out latest updates and things like that. So then we always have a closing questions section, gives everybody an opportunity to ask anything that they might want. A lot of times we get licensing questions. Ralph, who will be here shortly, does a pretty good presentation in and of itself on licensing. So the Power Platform licensing isn't the easiest thing to understand or get your head around because Microsoft has made it very convoluted. And then we conclude. We run this kind of informally, so at any time, if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to either raise your hand or just take yourself off mute and ask your question. We're pretty informal. When we do it in person, it's more of a roundtable discussion, so we try to keep that. So, as for introductions, I'm Craig Jenke. I work for a company called Valorum Reply. We are a consulting company of about 10,000 people worldwide. My specific division is called Valorum Reply Modern Work, and we focus on everything modern work with relation to the Microsoft stack. So we do a lot of SharePoint migrations, Teams migrations, Teams configurations, anything having to do with collaboration. We don't so much do the telephony part of that. We also do a lot of Yammer, now Viva Engaged, and Power Platform as it relates to modern work. So a lot of Canvas apps, some other types of apps, a lot of workflows, some Power BI reporting, and all of that good stuff. When Ralph gets here, he will talk about what he does at Sogeti. But for everybody else, we have Raquel, who is on the line, and she is Ralph's daughter. She does a lot of our AV. So we're streaming this on YouTube right now. So and recording, and we're getting that up there. Raquel, do you want to say hi, or you just want to be there?
Hello, I'm Raquel. I do a lot of streaming stuff and I do a lot of filming stuff as well. So I'm just, trying to stay a part of the online ecosystem and all that. So yeah, I'll be streaming this meeting today for everyone.
And if anybody ever needs anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. We can hook you up with Raquel. The next we usually do, since we don't have that many people, is go around the horn and ask people to tell us who you are, why you're here, a little bit about yourself. Makes it easier if I just go alphabetically down or how you're listed on here. So I pushed this over. Brandy, you were the first person to join. I don't know if you came back, but if you're here, would you like to come off mute and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. I recently am going to be starting a position that uses Power Apps. So I was interested in getting the basics from attending this group. Yeah.
Cool. We can certainly help you with that, and we're going to cover some of that. And we'll be pointing you to some resources that you can use if you want to really get in depth with it. So from start to finish, we've got some good stuff for you. Diane, you're next.
Sure. Hello, I'm Diana Kakoma. I currently work as a Power Apps developer for a company based in the Chicago suburbs, actually, 3Cloud. And so I'm just always looking for best practices and just all the things that I haven't learned as I've been trying to learn the job on the job. So
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Let's see, who else do we have? Junaid?
Hi there. I am Junaid, and currently working as I started with a business. With another senior engineer who's currently our Microsoft reseller. We are focused on Microsoft Intune and Autopilot and endpoint management. And I joined to see what Power App is it about.
Cool. Thank you. Where are you at? Where are you from, Junaid?
Chicago.
Chicago. Dan, what suburb are you from? Just curious.
Sorry, I am not from the suburbs. I almost am, though. I'm in Chicago, but I live very close to Evanston. I'm in Rogers Park.
Nice. Brandy.
I live by Ridgeview.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I'm out in actually St. Charles. I don't know where Ralph is. I know where he's at, but I can't think of where it's at. So then was next. Brandy, where are you from? We skipped you, so if you just want to put it in the chat, you don't have to come back online. But Michelle is attending her son's soccer game, but she's joining remote. She is from RSM, and she's in Geneva. Hey, she's next to me. So Michelle, maybe I'll see you around. And she's from Minnesota. Oh, I get it. I can read now. All right, so we'll go down to the next person. Nags.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm from Toronto. I'm currently working as a project manager. I'm just want to learn about this Power App tool so that it can help with my current role, right, as a project manager. So.
All right, awesome. We have an office manager. I don't know if you want to share your name.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Diaz. I joined because I'm trying to learn more about Power BI. I've been working with Power BI desktop and Power BI service for about 18 months. I work for Aetna, and I work remotely from Tampa, Florida.
Great, cool. Let's see, Michelle's not here. I see a couple people just joined. Fernando.
Hi.
Hello. Fernando, if you want to tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Fernando from Mexico, live in Puebla, and I am a lifelong learner.
Cool. I bet it's a lot warmer there. For those people who aren't in Chicago, it is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius, and raining ice, or raining and it's freezing on the ground as ice. So not a very nice day.
19 Celsius here. Great weather.
I wish I was there. And then we've got Shatali is the last person I see.
Yeah, hi, this is Shatali. I'm from Austin, Texas.
Also another place that's probably a lot warmer than Chicago. Right. Ralph just texted me. He is stuck in traffic, so he should be here in 10 minutes. So we shall cover some other stuff while we're waiting for him. I'm not sure how everybody got here. We have a meetup site that is primarily where we keep a lot of our information and we'll do a lot of our meeting planning. Microsoft has their own platform for user groups, which they would really like us to use. So we are also there. So if you haven't joined, it's the link is here. I will go back. We'll share the deck. So let me see if I can get, I should have been able to do that. Get the link for that and put that in the chat just in case anybody's interested. That is another place. And then if you just go to the short version of that, powerusers.microsoft. Let me share this over here. So this is our site there. And then if you just go to the main site, there is Power Users, Microsoft. So you can get the whole community for Microsoft. They're trying to create a place where everybody can get together, where you can go to forums, discuss questions, find different user groups and events, and ask questions. So it's broke out by each individual app: Power BI, Power Apps, Power Pages, Power Automate. So that is a good place to join and ask questions. If you can't find the answers, it's also got some links to the learning and all that kind of good stuff so that you can better learn how to use Microsoft tools. So that is one of the announcements. I'm on. So just some short kind of notes that I want to cover. Typically at this point, we would do kind of like new information. So this is just information that has been out or come out recently. So I heard a few new people, so I wanted to point out, if you go to this site, it's called Low Code February. Microsoft is actually running a low code solution training. So every day of the week, 30 days to low code, and they have some of their leading people in the space. April Dunham is one of the people I know very well. She does a pretty good YouTube channel on a lot of things about the Power Platform, Power Automate, Power Apps. So very good 101 type of learning. So really great place to learn if you're new. And all these other people are pretty good at it. And then, so over here, it'll talk about why you should use low code, starting Microsoft low code. And then there's individual skills that you do over the course of the 28 days. And it gives you a full overview of that. So if you're just getting started, I would check this site out. Like I said, it's like low code solution. So it's just really getting you started, the fundamentals and all that kind of good stuff. It teaches you how to get started, how to get a developer plan, which Ralph, who just joined, will talk about shortly. But basically a developer plan is a free plan that Microsoft provides to people who are working in this space. So you just kind of sign up for it, or you get your company to sign up for it, and you get 3 environments that you can assign differently so that you can actually build stuff and try them out and like use premium connectors and all that good stuff. It's in a contained environment, almost like a sandbox solution, but it allows you to do things that would normally cost more money to do or license to do. So it's like a little free environment. And as long as you use it, you can usually keep it. If you stop using it after a little while, then it kind of goes stale and Microsoft turns it off. But it's a really good resource for people who are just getting started out and they want to do that. There is also, I know Ralph's going to cover it, but a way that you get your own Office 365 environment altogether, which is under the developer plan, that gives you a space to actually play in. And I highly recommend that for somebody who's just getting new. It's really good at learning the basics of Office 365. And more importantly, it gives you super admin access, right? So that you can go in and set things up and be able to use them. And you don't have to go to somebody and say, hey, I need to be able to do this. You can just might take a little bit of a learning curve to figure out some of the settings, but pretty much it's up and ready to go. And you can do things that you wouldn't be able to do in your normal work environment because you might not have access to it. Ralph, I see you joined. Are you ready to say hi? Or are you
Give me a moment, fixing something here real quick.
All right, then I will continue. Also, something that came out just recently, or documentation, is called Power Apps Patterns, which I thought was a really good article, especially if you're just getting started out. So this came out on the 15th, so about a week ago, and describes some of the more common patterns that we use in the Power Platform articles in development. So the approvals, something that you use a lot in the Power Platform. So just making a request, getting approvals, getting them signed off on, and how people respond to that. So there's information on how that one works. Asset management. So basically creating a list of things that people can check out, check in, inventory management, things like that. Some simple calculations on cost estimates, decision supports, all these really good architecturally good ideas that you may want to do, or may give it ideas, but not sure exactly how you should put those solutions together. So if you start going through these, it's got pretty detailed instructions on how to do something like that. So everyone's got a link, and it gives you more in-depth information out of that. So it's a good place if you're just learning. It's also good if you've been doing it for a little bit, but you weren't really sure if you were following best practices. So the whole pattern, some examples, sometimes and little videos on how they built it. So again, another really good resource for doing that. So put that one in the link in the chat. And then if we come over here, what else we have? We have the community newsletter. So this is just talks about the latest enhancements that have come out, some videos, just talking about things in the latest news in Power Platform. So you should check this out. Normally we would run through these in detail, but we're just going to skip that today to move into some of the other things that Ralph is going to talk about, because we don't have as much time to go through everything. One of the things that I'm going to tell you is this video is really cool. I have a link just directly to that video on YouTube. It is what we call the release. It is the release highlights. So everything that Microsoft is kind of planning to put out over the next fiscal quarter or two. And it kind of goes through and describes how these things could be used in a manufacturing setting. So it starts out as like making a request for like a broken equipment, and just kind of follows through things that you might do in a manufacturing scenario, and has examples of Power Apps, how you could use Power Virtual Agents, how you can use Power Apps and Power Pages to surface information up, to get information quickly. It's a really cool video. It's worth taking a look at. And then the last one I'm going to put in here is a link to this. Well, one of the last things I'm going to put in here, it's a link to this PDF. And it kind of describes everything in the release plan. So if you wanted to see everything that's going to be coming out in detail, like it starts out with Power BI, we've got all of these things that Microsoft plans on putting out. We're going to cover these in probably in later date or as they happen. But you can see them in detail. It's 100 and what do we say, Ralph? 135 pages. So a lot more than we can cover in one day, but some
Massive.
really good information about when things are coming out. And it might be features that you need, or features you didn't know about, but a really good document here. And then the last thing is Ralph's favorite thing that just got announced, but the release planner. Ralph, you want to jump in on the release planner, because I know you were excited to talk about this yesterday. I'll take that as a no, Ralph. Oh, there you are.
The unmuter is like taking a long time to click. I'm like running really slow over here. Okay. The release planner. All right. Here's the thing. The concept is we get asked a lot. I get asked a lot. Hey, what's coming? What should we watch out for? Or like this happened and we didn't know anything about it. Suddenly it's here. They moved my cheese, blah, blah, blah. And when you ask them about it, they say, the problem is Microsoft puts all this stuff in like 5 different places. We're never sure what to watch. Do we watch a log? Do we watch somebody's blog? Do we watch someone else's blog? Do we watch our emails? Do we go to the M365 Message Center? And what they did was they followed some of our advice, and not just us, but partners, and MVP folks and everything else, and said, look, can you put it all in one place and make it so that we can consume it in an easy manner? And take a look at this URL over here. See how it says dynamics.com on it? I mean, this is so new and so fresh. They even didn't have a chance to put a vanity URL on this. Clearly, this was built on essentially the same tools that we use, which is in this particular case, Power Pages. They built a Power Page with all this information and all this power. The idea over here is like they're showing everything that's going to come. And you'll see that there's different categories over here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see what he's got. Let's see. I'm zooming in to the look over here. See how it says up right above there. See, it says plan, coming soon, and try now. Right? Try now. These just came out. You may want to try them, but that's a lot of stuff. So if you haven't tried them, you're not in good shape. And then you have coming soon. Pardon me. That's the key one. It's like this is about to happen. You should already know about this, but if you don't, this is about to happen. You should prepare for it, et cetera, et cetera. And the first one, of course, is plan, which means everything that's coming up essentially within the next year. I think it's around 12 months is typically as far out as they go.
Well, right now they go out to July 1st. It looks like they go through the end of the fiscal, but
well, it depends on which product, of course. Some of them they can schedule further out because they have an idea on when they're coming out. They have a schedule. You know, they're following their plans.
Oh, your favorite licensing.
The ones you're likely to see are the ones that are going to happen more likely in like June, July, August timeframe. That's what you'll find over here that you don't see under coming soon. Right? So there's a June one, for example. All right. And here's the cool thing. All right. So you see all the different things. So you can actually drill down on the left-hand side to the items that you're interested in specifically. And they also included, this was important, something just for governance and administration, because sometimes there's some stuff that doesn't fall under any category. And they nicely at least included something automatic like this, right? It affects everybody. And you need to know where this stuff is, right? You see the kind of detail you can get. You can drill down. You can share the link. You can do everything else. And one more feature. Check this out. See where it says My Release Plans over there? Let's go ahead and click on that there up on top. See, it's all release plans. Right up there. We're going to walk Craig through. See, it says you're going to get this. If you're trying this the first time, let's go ahead and sign in. All right. And in this particular case, you can use your work account or your personal account. Doesn't matter. We'll let Craig choose which one he wants to use. Usually it's the same I use the same one as the profile in Edge is what I typically like to do. So it's quick to log in. All right. There we go. Let's see. There's Craig at the reply. The role requires a field. Okay. Come on. We need your role. And I don't mean that one that you played in grade school when you were Robin Hood. We need your actual role.
It's not letting me.
Down below, see that? Pick a role.
Oh, hey, I can be both.
You can be both. That's right. But guess what?
No, I cannot.
So usually when I use my company account, I'll say partner. If I'm using my name, I'll use my whatchamacallit. There we go. And you are a senior manager. You are senior manager. Sorry, it's a Spanish joke, sort of.
We do have somebody from Mexico here.
And you are a manager, senor. Okay, sir. That's actually senor means sir, like sir. Okay. All right. So look, now you can have a plan.
So my Spanish may not be that good, Ralph, but I do know that.
All right. So let's take a look. So look, we have a plan. Check this out. You can add this now to my plan. You're following this? Add it to my plan. you can go ahead and pick only the things you care about. And now you can look at your release plans and ta-da, you have your own thing from which you can filter, watch, search, share.
Oh, what I like is I can add notes here.
Now, I'm telling you how important this is. I just found out at the Power Platform Conference in October, somebody actually got a talking thing to speak about this for a whole hour, for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know
believe
how she did it, but I'm going to say that there's probably she does more to it, because you know what's underneath the covers behind this? There's an API.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? We're looking at this from you see it's experience.dynamics.com. That's not happening there for free. Clearly, there's some method to that madness. There's something going on that's feeding this monster and this beast. And I'm thinking that's what that session is going to be about. But still, very powerful. If you're a manager, if you're an IT administrator, if you're just a developer, whoever you are, all this can be essentially tailored to how you use it. And I think they should be doing this for other things besides this, but this is pretty much the way going forward.
Yeah, no, this is really cool because we do get asked a lot about when are things coming. Hey, I want this feature. Now we have a better view into the world of Microsoft.
And so you don't have to be an MVP or a partner with like secret NDA information about a lot of this stuff. In a lot of the cases, they're telling you what's going to come, what you should know about. They'll come to us and tell us what we're thinking about maybe, but when they talk to us at that level, it'll be stuff that's coming way further down the line. Or they might come up with like juicy details for us maybe once in a while, but that's usually not as important. For the people that are doing business that don't have that access, you don't necessarily need them, but you need a way to plan. And at the very least, get to that point where you have, that level set of where you understand what's coming in and you're ready for it. All right. So as they say, there's no more excuses for it because we just showed you how and where it is. Right. And so if you don't, as they say, if they just like when there is a storm coming and they tell you, hey, you got to evacuate and you don't, well, right. Maybe not that bad.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Well, it is
Are
exactly
you going to drive? You want to drive the slides for now, or do you want me to drive the slides?
I think you should drive your own slides, but it is exactly 6 o'clock. So I want to stick with our normal agenda and switch to you just to give you a read of the room. We went around and there were a fair number of people who are just getting started with the Power Platform. Couple people just getting brand new jobs in Power Apps and wanting to learn about what they should know, what's important. A couple people who have been doing it for a little while just want to get better. And then there was a person that does Power BI for a little bit a while and wanted to know more about Power BI. Did you have Power BI in your presentation?
Yes, I do.
You do.
I cover it all, believe it or not.
In an hour.
In an hour. Well, somehow we're going to fit this in an hour. So I might be a little quick, but here's the point. We're going to share the slides, A. And B, we're not going away. We are in the cloud one way or the other. So we can follow up on anything that you see over here.
And before we
share.
Get too far into that while we're here and still have people, we are always open to suggestions. So if you go to the meetup, that I assume most of you come to, but you could also go to the one that we were there. Right. Usually the meetup's the better place for me to see things, but you can put in a suggestion of, I'll put it in the chat when I get it where our meetup is, but you can put a suggestion into what you want to hear. And then if you are interested in presenting, we are looking for presenters throughout the year. So this is a good place to get us started. If you tell us, hey, I've got something that I want to do like a 15-minute.
It's a safe place.
Yeah, it's a safe spot. So you can do like if you just have a 5-minute thing that you want to present because, hey, I did this and it's cool. Or if you want to try doing a full 45 minutes, we're open to that. So and the other thing that we do run, and we had this not too long ago, but we do a conference called M365 Chicago, which has had, what do we have? Last time we spoke, we had 70 people present doing 70 some odd different sessions. That is another safe spot. So a little insider tip for that conference.
Yes.
It's virtual. If you submit, you will get accepted. So if you
Or
submit
at least
one
one of
session,
your
you'll get it
submissions.
accepted. We accept one session from everybody
Everybody gets a
submits.
shot unless they send up. If they tell us how to make a chicken julienne, you may not get accepted. That's the only possible issue.
I like
Unless of course, you
chicken.
did it
I
with
like
a power
food,
app.
so
Hey,
you could. But yeah, I've been running this conference for 10 years. We've done 13 events throughout the year. That has been my preference, is to, if everybody submits, I always, when I was trying to get a start, looking for places, and it's really, it's not really nice that sometimes you submit and you don't get accepted. Virtually, there's no reason for that, because we can have as many virtual rooms as we want. When we were doing it in person, the DeVry University in Addison, Illinois was nice enough to give me the facility and give me as many rooms as I needed. So I never questioned it. I just accepted people, and that was it. So great place to get a start if you're looking to get a start at presenting. It can be really good for your career, by the way. So get you some notoriety, get you some networking. One of the things that I found was, as I hosted events and as I spoke, I learned to meet people. Like the first conference I ever went to, it was kind of boring because I didn't know anybody, and I'm not the most I wasn't the most extroverted person at the time. I'm gotten a little bit better, but really you just kind of go, well, it's a conference and you don't talk to anybody, maybe meet one person. But now I go, I know half the speakers, I know most of the sponsors. So
and they
I have
don't
a
be
really, I have a really good time when I go. So that's my pitch for why you should go and network. So
there, as they say, there's nothing better. There's no better teacher than to be there's no better teacher for you to learn from than yourself. When you become a teacher, you actually learn from your students a lot more. And
that's the link to the meetup group.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, now Ralph, take it away.
Here we go. Power Platform in an hour.
Let's
Let's return to the basics. This is like a not a Cameron production, though. Thank God, where no one's going to sink and no one's going to be waiting at the boat here to worry about. Really quickly, and again, because for some things I'm going to go quick, mainly because we are going to share the slides so you can peruse them at your leisure. Not going to go through a detail of my life story over here. There's a QR code if you need to quickly grab my connection information. Please connect. I'm okay. I'm happy. Anyway, the Birdman, has all my info, so I'm not worried anymore. Go ahead and select what you need out of here. Just a little bit about me, and just go ahead and take a look. I'm just going to wait and see what the next slide says. Let's go. Yes. I'm not sure if we're advertising our companies over here, but we're sort of like in. Hey, come on! I just clicked on the next slide, and it's just not going. What is going on? Am I stuck?
I talked about my company, so you can talk about yours.
Okay.
I blew by
I'm
my
hitting
slide,
next, but there we go. All right. So it's Capgemini Sogeti, essentially. Right now, it's not exactly a schizophrenic situation. Sogeti was the original company. Capgemini was born of Sogeti buying all these let's just say accumulating all these companies over the many, many years. And then they said, hey, we're going to rename ourselves to the Capgemini Group. And then all of a sudden, after so long, it was like, we need to have that one group that really focuses on the dev parts and all that stuff. And so they revived the Sogeti name. So now it's Sogeti, part of Capgemini, however you want to say it. Either is correct in doing that. Essentially, we are all over the place. I joined this company mainly because they were doing the stuff that I liked, at least in the Microsoft world. They're actually one of Microsoft's biggest partners out there, if not revenue-wise. The last I heard, they were way on the top over there. We got Power Apps Partner of the Year. Really happy about that because I got to participate in that particular honor. And that's just about the company in general. Again, this is, how do I say, the nosebleed level when we're working over here. But let's just say I'm not going to charge anything for anybody for anything here because we're in community. All right, back to thank you, Sogeti, for enabling me. Here we go. Power Platform. Let's take a look. Power Platform. What is the Power Platform? The Power Platform is essentially Microsoft's low-code environment, and the concept is it's the glue to essentially automate and simplify development against their ecosystem. Their ecosystem being Azure on the bottom end, which supports everything. Microsoft 365, which is your SharePoint, your Teams, and all those pieces that are in there. And these are essentially the tools that bring it all together. It's born out of Dynamics 365, where a lot of the, let's just say, the platform bits came from. But even before that, and we'll go through it, some of this stuff came from the side, say Excel being the owner. There's 5 pieces over here. This is important to know because we're going to go through them, right? Power Pages, and we're not going to go through them in the same order. Power Pages, essentially web development to give you apps via like just a web portal. Power Virtual Agents, the bots area. Power Automate is the flows. Power BI Analytics. Power Apps, of course, that's when people think Power Platform, they usually think Power Apps, and we'll go through that. And then we have a few other supporting apps here on the side, and we'll go witness what those are at a different point over here. Let's start with Power Apps. What is Power Apps? Allows you to build apps. I think that's pretty straightforward. Come on. I would like this to go click. Here we go. Power Apps, you rapidly create your mobile and web apps, automate the business process. And now here's this thing. We said Power Apps and we said Power Automate for automating. The concept, though, is with the app, you get, this is the starting point. Your front, your presentation layer, for those who are into that particular description, the presentation layer or your front end to getting things done. Essentially, you can make these kind of apps very, very quickly with little to no code in a lot of the cases. And from that, you can trigger things that will automate processes and do your innovation. Innovation simply meaning I want to do something new that hasn't been done by us before. And then most people can actually start doing that. Or for that matter, you take something like this in the tools of a developer and they're accelerated, so to speak. And for some reason, every time I click, it just seems to take a long time. Unique approach to building business apps. Well, when I say unique, this was unique pretty much at the time when it was coming together. There are other systems that will do that now, but what's unique about this in this particular case is that they gave in the Microsoft world over here a way to essentially do a full feature of an app to do a lot of things that would normally take at least a little bit of development or a little bit of extra work just to get to that point. And they really managed to put it all into one package over here. You could basically, the concept is you connect the data to make things happen, either the app so you can touch it or to what's called a data via connectors. Right now, they're showing that number 430. You're going to see different numbers of that, by the way, connectors. I will say the official number right now is close to 1,000. There's going to be a party when that happens, I'm pretty sure. But right now, as of this particular slide, which is a Microsoft slide, this was 430 at the time. So it's streamlined basically Office 365, I said earlier, which is M365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and Power BI integration. All of these can be brought into a Power App. All right, there's strong enterprise governance and security. Essentially, you're working on a platform that is controlled in essence, like M365 itself. So besides Microsoft's governance of the whole platform across in the world with everybody's organization, they give everyone at the tenant level essentially the power to do all this stuff. Pro dev extensibility simply means when they call them pro dev, I mean I would say let's call it traditional developer extensibility. If you're a traditional developer and you look at this and say, hey, great, I can get this far, but it doesn't quite do what I want. I need to tweak. I need to do something. There's a way to essentially add to it. And that's actually what makes it a little bit unique from many of the other competitors out there, where that part has to be something completely different as opposed to what you get out of the box. All right, easy authoring. Let's see, WYSIWYG authoring, full control. WYSIWYG means what you see is what you get. You see this, you see it in the way it's in the developer environment. You hit play, literally play like in a good old style VCR or anything else, and it will be exactly what it is. You create your app logic like you would Excel formulas. That so-called PowerFX is what they calling PowerFX for a language, which we'll talk about in a little bit. This is the language that's being used. For folks that are used to doing Excel, well, naturally coming from Microsoft, right? If they're used to doing that, it becomes easier to do this. Now, people that are doing scripting or coming in from other areas outside of Microsoft, even if they're coming from Google Docs or some of the other places, that same similar type of language that's used to describe and make things happen, formulas and everything else, are actually much like this as well. And now, of course, to mash up the data, the concept, of course, if you can connect the data all over, you can just mash them up and bring them in. Because mash can taste good. Connected data. Remember that 430 number? Hey, look at this. They upped the number to 500 suddenly. It must have meant that they made this slide at a different date. But this is essentially it's still the same so far, 2 years in. And I think that when I first saw this particular slide on the Microsoft side, nearly 2 years in, and a lot of this information is the same. The concept is you can connect the data to all kinds of pieces, either pre-packaged by Microsoft or created by third parties, or created by you, custom pieces that you've made, and you can actually add to the list of connectors. And there's a way to do that as well. All of these are what powers Power Platform. In the case of Power Apps, it's without the data, you don't have an app. And can I please hit the next slide? There we go. Cross-platform. How do we explain this cross-platform? Hey, you got a Mac, you got your Android, you got your PC, you have something else. For the most part, all of this stuff essentially uses the same technologies that allow them to work like a web page. The same way a web page is accessible through your Chrome browser, your Edge browser, however, your Safari browser, or pick a browser somewhere following the standards. You publish once and it just works. And cases now, this stuff, one of the recent innovations for this is a way to actually package it as a mobile app directly. Because what used to happen was that people would open up maybe the Power app on your phone, and then they would go and look down and say, hey, what can I run? And then they find the Power app that they want to run and then run it. Now they can actually package the app itself. So when you open up your phone, for example, and you're looking for apps, you actually find the app directly. You don't have to have a middleman or a person to go through to get it. That is a very powerful thing for Power Apps. So sharing apps, of course, like sharing documents. The idea is I have an app. Hey, I like it. I want someone else to use it. I hit share. It's exactly the same way. There are some caveats to that, but we'll go through that. Manage across environments simply means that if I want to manage it, again, just like I can do this from any OS to look at the information, because it's just web pages. Technically speaking, all the management and the admin can be done from anywhere as well. So all tools are welcome. Pro developers, that's again, with the pros. Well, I'll just call them traditional developers welcome. The concept is now there's extensibility, and you might have seen in some of the low code February piece, there's one thing over there called PCF in like 10 minutes or something like that. PCF, the concept of PCF, which is for the control framework. The concept is there's a control that I'd like to have in Power Apps. It's not there. It's not out of the box. I can't click it and select it, but I like to make one up. I got some HTML skills. Hey, can I do that? There's an example of that piece that where it goes in. Plus, if the developer really, really wants to stay with the development tools, they can actually use their tools to do some of the work, right? Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases that they can, especially if all they're doing is just repackaging something to push it in and out. They can use Visual Studio Code as an example. So, and because it's all running in Azure underneath the covers, they essentially have the full power of the Battle Station at their command. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Let's see if I have this going. I have so many files open, I forgot to minimize all my files, so please pardon me while I minimize. Who's this? This is work. Let's go ahead and minimize. This is Microsoft. Nope, nothing important there. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Oh, this one I have to hide. 1 second. All right, here we go. Let's go find my piece over here. Let's see. I think it is this one. Customer Service Analytics is this one. Maybe not that one. Here we go. Stand by. Nope, that's not that one over here. There's all my Edge profiles going in hand. Aha, here we are. All right, so let's take a look. I have what's called a dev tenant, and we're going to show you, stick around to the end, we're going to show you how to get one of these for free. You can get a dev tenant with all the power of the Battle Station to learn and play and do all this good stuff in, and you can almost see the CRM Dynamics thing over here. The idea is people stumble upon Power Apps sometimes because nobody locks it down, but sometimes it is locked down. But if it's not, here's the way to find it. Go to office.com, click the dots. And if you don't have it here under Power Apps, you just select all apps and find it. And this is usually how people will stumble upon the powers that are out there. Whether or not you can use them or not, that would be up to the tenant manager to give you permissions and licenses and everything else. You might have heard that sometimes you have to have permissions or licensing to do it. The concept with Power Apps, and this is very interesting with Power Platform in general, if you are in an M365 tenant, you pretty much, unless it's turned off, can just use it. I'm just going, oh, there's some new stuff, new look. Okay, I got it. Thanks for the new look. All right, so here's Power Apps. Power Apps is just a web page. It's just a site. In a Power App, you have the concept of working in an environment. So there's multiple types of environments. There's dev environments, there's sandboxes, there's production, there's trials, all kinds of stuff over here. And I think we talked about it earlier, where you can actually have multiple dev environments that you control, so you can practice, actually deploying apps like a big time DevOps person. You don't have to. If you're just doing stuff by yourself, all you need is your own personal environment. Like this case, look, these are my me environments over here. I happen to be powerful over here, so I can see other people's environments. Like this RRME is actually another person, but because I'm in charge of everything, and Lee Guditz and Adele Vance, because I have power, I can actually see their environments. But okay, this is the concept over here. Just a web page. You pick an environment you want to work in. Sometimes you might find out that I'm in a default environment. There's a default environment over here. That could be locked down. It could be, or it could be open. Everyone can play. So here's the thing. First concept in Power Apps and all the rest of the system is the environment you work in. What's important about that? Inside that environment, let's go click on more over here, are all the things that you can do. In fact, let's make this taller. And as you can see, over here, you have things like there's tables, there's flows, and even though we had Power Automate and a separate thing, but you can actually look at their flows over here. Look at this. I'm gonna pin this. This is, by the way, something new. This only just came up. Before, all of the stuff used to show automatically. So I'm just gonna pin everything so we can make sure we see it. And you see there's some stuff you can't unpin because they're important to have. All right, and done. There we go. I'll unpin. Here's what my environment, essentially all of these things will exist in an environment, which means that if I create an app somewhere, I'll go to an app and I make a new one, and I'm in a different environment, that app cannot touch stuff in that other environment, and the stuff from any other environment cannot touch my app. If there's permissions blocked or any of that stuff going on, they stay apart from each other. So that's the first and most important thing that we can say about this, is the fact that Power Apps will work in the area that you set forth for it to work in. All right, and the concept of the environment, and I'll show you that one really quick. It will go to the admin center. And by the way, most everyone can, with Power Apps, can go to the admin center, but you won't see anything except what you're allowed to see. If you're an admin, you see it all. Here, I'm the admin, I see it all. If you're not an admin, you'll see some. However, you might see quite a bit, or what seems to be a bit. For example, you might see the documentation. You might see unread message from the message center because they're open to all people to look at. You might see some analytics, but then you're only going to be seeing your environment. So maybe you only have one environment that belongs to you. When you go to environments, you only see your own. The concept of these environments is that they're controlled by these policies. See these policies over here? It says policies, data policies. The idea now is administrators can say, hey, this developer environment or this kind of environment, only these apps type of apps can work. Only these connectors are allowed. Only these permissions will happen and everything else. And they can actually put that together and make it work. And then, of course, now they have the ability to do what's called a managed environment, which says, hey, I'm just going to make it as a package. It's going to be managed, and I'm just going to let the AI take care of all the plumbing and all that stuff. And me as an admin, I get to take a vacation. That's the idea over there. All right, so we have the environment. We have a place to work, and we know that we're in a safe place because the administrator or ourselves, we had control to set forth what we wanted to work with. Meanwhile, back in our place, we get to do something. What can we do over here? There's two kinds of apps. What's called the model-driven app. The model-driven app says, I have data, make an app from it. And it's almost like instantaneous over here. And then the other one says, okay, I just want to make an app straight up, just blank, just give me a blank thing, a blank canvas, and do whatever I'd like for it. What's really cool though is I like the fact that you can actually take something like SharePoint data and instantly make an app. So I'm going to show that right now. Watching the time over here. We're taking more time on this one over here. We're going to spend less time on the other ones, but mind you, there's always app in a days and other these things going on out there. So take a look. So now first thing, what do? We're going to make an app. So we're going to make a connection. I already selected SharePoint. So right off the bat, it's saying, what kind of connection would you like to have for a connection? And I say, look, I have one ready to go over here, SharePoint. Otherwise, I click on plus, new connection. And then it would look at recent sites that I've been to or recent sites that I've used. Let's go ahead and choose Project 9 right over here. And okay, I wanted to make a app out of the recruitment tracker. It's a straight up SharePoint list for recruitment tracking. So I'm going to select that. Let's go. Hold on a second. Let me close this out so I can see what's going on. And notice down here, it says connect. All right, let's go. Let's see how fast this does it. Oh, let's go find out what that list looks like really quick. All right, so that's Plan 9, I believe. So let's go to SharePoint.com. 1 second. We're going to take a look at that developer plan later on. Oh, that was a secret. Hold on a second. Let me go find my SharePoint. Or in fact, let me go find what. Oh, this is actually cool because this is in Teams. Microsoft.com. Right. So here's my teams in my area. I should have a team called Plan 9. Come on. This was there really quick. It went away earlier. Go to Teams. By the way, did that Power App create itself yet? We'll see in a moment. Okay, right now it's still working on it a little bit. That's good. That gives me a chance to go take a look at Teams. Oh, one thing I do notice with Power Apps, there seems to be a warm-up period sometimes for like if you haven't used in a particular tenant, if it hasn't been used for a while, and that's the only reason that would happen is because it's like a dev tenant, and you know you go away for a month and you come back situation. Oh, look at that! I got some approvals over here, so I'm going to go to my Teams, and here's my Project 9. All right, here's my Project 9 piece that's over here. So I'm going to just go and go to Files and open up. I'm going to open up the SharePoint site. This is my secret backdoor to opening up the SharePoint because underneath Teams, the SharePoint. Quick note: having skills in M365 in general helps when you're doing any Power Platform stuff. Because let's just say before you reinvent the wheel, use what's out of the box with things over here. Okay, and here's the recruitment tracker. How did I make a recruitment tracker? I said new list. I made a new list, and there it is. There's my recruitment tracker. See that? It's got project manager. It's got a list over here. If I wanted to make a new item, I click on new. Over here, click on new. Come on, and then you get this sort of thing, and it's like it's not exactly elegant, but it's workable. This seems all fine and well. But now I just created one in. Ta-da! Look what it did. While we were sleeping, we now have an app, and here it is. And here's all the pieces that are in there. Just from this alone, I can learn how to do some Power Apps. Going up over here, for example, see how the code pretty much, or the code, quote unquote, the low code pieces, the PowerFX pieces come right over here. So I can put like maybe some logic in there that says, if this user is somebody else, go ahead and put something else. Not going to go through that detail. That'll be a different kind of session that you want to go through. But let's go ahead. This is done. Believe it or not, this is done. I can just hit play. I can save it. I can app check it. But let's just go ahead and hit play. All right, here's search items. So I'm going to say search Liza, and it should, of course, just, there we go. There's Liza. I go ahead and hit the plus sign, and then there is the details over there in a basic way. I can go ahead and hit edit. And let's change Lisa. I just made her now. She's been not promoted. Yes, promoted to project manager. Okay, yes. And for the recruitment, this is the position that she wants to have instead. I hit the checkbox. And by the way, this will work on a phone because, well, we'll see that in just a moment. On the environment that we're working on over here. All right, we're back to that. Because look, this is a phone. This is a phone piece over here. All right, what do we do? Let's hit refresh, or let's take out search, and we're in there. If I want to add a new record, let's go see what a new record is. The title, title, it should be name, but I didn't change anything. It's using all the out of box. In SharePoint, it was called title, not name. So that's why I called it title. I can, of course, edit that at any time. And I'm going to say Bill Blue. Okay, Bill Blue's looking for the designer position. And this is a new application. And the recruiter is me. And look at that. Find all this stuff ready to go. The application date was, hey, nope, that can't be the application date. Let's going to go to 14 to 2023. Just on Valentine's Day. The phone screen date. The phone screen date was next week. And the phone screener will be me again. Why not? There we go. Sure. The interview date was originally on the 14th. There we go. And maybe I can put the time and date as well, but I hit check and done. Hold on a second. Let's go to the SharePoint site. Let's go over here really quick. I'm in edit mode, so let me get out of here. I probably have to refresh this. It'll refresh on its own, by the way. SharePoint will do that. But I'm not going to wait. There we go. There's Bill Blue. Ta-da. Hey, it worked. What did I do? Did I write any code? I did not write one lick of code at all. At this point, I can now do things like share my app. Did you know? Yeah, I knew that. I can share the app. I could put comments on it so I can do collaboration with somebody. I could publish it because that's what it's not what I haven't done. I can go ahead and publish this app, and we're going to call it Recruiter app. There we go. And it's going to go in my environment because I built this in my environment. Notice that I can't publish it to somebody else's environment just like that. I could share it with somebody who would open it, but they would have to have access to my environment to make it happen. But I'm not going to go through that right now. But that's the ALM pieces that say, okay, I just published it there, and maybe the ALM, what's called the application lifecycle, will pick it up and then move it to test for someone to test, move it to production when it's all done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's almost nothing to it, right? So that's a model-driven app. I'm sorry, that's a Canvas app, I should say. Sorry, Canvas app. Let's go back. So yeah, we're done. Yes, I'm sure. I'm leaving the app. Goodbye. The app is done. It's ready to go. Actually, I can do all kinds of stuff to it right off the bat. Here's what I want to show you now in apps. The big difference is when you take the lessons for like the Innoday and everything else, they'll show you this, but they won't talk about it much. But the fact is AI has come to roost. Over here, the AI that we're going to see is like, for example, you can upload an image. So imagine in Paint, of all things, you're going to draw a box, a name, a button and everything else. And you click on image and you bring that image in. It will create the app for you with some sample data. Shock. Figma, which is a system that's out there where UX developers will create mock-ups of data and everything else. You can actually bring in the Figma UI piece and it will build. What we just saw, it'll build the whole thing. And it's getting better. And it does it very well, very powerful. Or you can go and get templates that are out there and ready to go. Okay, so that's the pieces over here. Other things we're going to learn about over here is the concept is when we made an app, it was an app sitting by itself. The key concepts, and I'm going to show them over here. Tables, essentially data. These are Dataverse tables. When they say tables, it means Dataverse. That's usually a premium-y type access, but when you're running them in development environments or in teams, it's free. Smaller, but it's still free. That's what the idea of tables. So you have data that's local to your environment. Otherwise, you can connect to any data from anywhere else, like Excel, SQL, you name it. Solutions, that's how you package not just your app, but you can package your app, your automate, all the other pieces go together. Choices is a case of like creating like these picker areas. They're actually related to tables. So you'd create a choice that says, hey, I want a choice of the different colors of our flag, and we made a flag for our own user group, and we can say these are the choices that you have to pick from. So that's all it is. That's actually related to tables. Flows, so you can go straight to your automation from here. You don't have to do it from here. Go after Power Automate to make it happen. Same with chatbots. You can do your chatbots straight from here and not have to go to Power Virtual Agents. AI models, and the idea that you can bring in the AI into the system off the bat And over here, let me show you what this looks like. I don't have any models in here right now, but the concept is if I want a new AI model, this is what it looks like. Just going to give you a really quick look. The concept is this is, by the way, this is based on OpenAI. We heard about ChatGPT. Everyone's heard about that. That's the big news. All kinds of stuff that's going on. This has been in Microsoft for a while now. So our robot masters have been here for a while. All hail them. So don't be surprised, because this stuff has been around for a little while. And the concept over here is that we can now do things like extracting information from invoices. Imagine, here's my app. We're going to be automatically extracting information from invoices, but I use the app to review to make sure the invoice is correct, or maybe the app will be like, do I approve this? Yes or no? Click. How about this? Extract text and photos from PDR, or exact information from receipts, identity documents. And these are, by the way, growing and growing all the time, right? So these are the ones where it's like taking text. Look at this. Detect positive or negative neutral sentiment in text data. Imagine this. I made an app, and you're supposed to put in your comments about my stuff, right? Fill in this app to fill in the comments. And now I'm going to, as the administrator, put this little thing and then find out what you felt about my app. What did you really feel about my app? I might actually have that. The concept of structured data, where you're predicting future outcomes. Okay, now we're going into sci-fi territory over here. We got data, structured data. When I say structured data, that means sort of like in a table, and it could be in one of these kind of tables, but it could be in any other kind of table. Same thing. And finally, here's images. Look at that. We saw that earlier. Detect custom images. You know, is it a cat? Is it a cookie? Remember that? You might have seen that. Is it a cat or a cookie? And you want to see how smart the AI was? This was the app that was doing it. All right. Other things, something new over here. Cards. The concept of cards is, and there's no cards over here. You saw the app, right? As an app, that Canvas app. Cards are the baby versions of that. We see them in Teams. Every team, and sometimes in Teams, you see a little card that says, here's a user, or here's a piece of information that you want to use. You can now do this with Power Apps. Finally, the last piece is over here, the connections. When you're connecting to different things, essentially everything you connect will be out here. If you create any flows to get data from one thing to another, they're going to be here as well. Let's see what else. I think that's all of them. That's everything that we needed to see pretty much in that area. So I spent a lot of time on apps because that gave us our first look at Power Platform and a lot of the abilities that are available to you right off the bat. But don't worry, there's going to be time for questions later. And if anything is coming in the chat, somebody let me know. Nope, this is not the one. That is not my presentation. This is my presentation. Here we go. All right, let's carry on. Our wayward son. All right, Power Pages allows you to build apps. Again, this is the front end part 2. Formerly Power Portals. The concept is enterprise grade. When I say enterprise grade, it works in huge, humongous scale, and low code because very little code. Here's an example of the interface over here. We're not going to go through this in detail because this can be a whole thing to itself. But here's an example of what Power Pages look like. Power Pages, where you start off with a gallery, a home page in a gallery, and you can select from previous sites that have been done, much like you could when with SharePoint, pick a site template or one of those, or like maybe like a WordPress or one of those. Pick your template, get started, and have everything ready to go. Right, followed by essentially a learning hub. You'll notice something very common in all the Microsoft apps, Power Apps, and everything else. You saw there was a place and like little lessons where you can start learning stuff. So they make it very easy to get going to learn. The Templates Hub. So you saw the homepage and gallery. The gallery was for whole sites. The Templates Hub are for specific templates. So you can see here's a design template. Here's a business reopening guidelines, employee onboarding checklist. Those are like specific pages and specific items that would happen in one of those areas. What's Power Pages exactly? Power Pages is Power Apps, right? So people say Power Apps, you need a license to use it. Yes, you do. Power Pages, you need a license to create it, but guess what? External users can connect to it. You can actually set it up for quote unquote anonymous access. Well, nothing's really anonymous, truly. They're going to come in, they're going to at least identify that they're a human and they're not coming from a spammy area or whatever. But at the very least, it also means that when they start using the stuff for information, their PII or some of that information can be blocked from even the administrators. That's what they mean by anonymous. And the idea now is when you build apps with this, they don't need a license. However, the way they do this is by consumption. So instead of charging you per app per user using it. The way they do this is like, I'll let up to 200 users log into this system every month, and they can use it as long as they want, but 200 users a month, period. Oh, I got 400 unique users coming in. All right, now you got to pay that next batch for stuff. That's how they charge for this. Or you can pay as you go, and it's like 50 cents in the buck to pay. Of course, that can add up. So sometimes it might be worth just going and buying the bulk. All right, other things. There's the workspace. Basically, just nothing to it. Just essentially an area to go working, place to go styling. Because hey, if you're doing HTML, you gotta have style, right? No, data workspace. So data workspace, you saw the data stuff earlier. We saw tables and everything else. In the and essentially what's called portals or pages over here, they let you work with the data in a nice little way over here, so you can actually make cooler looking tables and everything else while you're at it. And of course, for the pro developers, for those traditional developers that I just want to see my code, give me my code, and shut up, give me my code. Here we go. Yes, you have code. Do your JavaScript. Go crazy. Oh, go crazier. How about with some extensions? Build web APIs with all the pieces. You can go crazy with your code. Okay, and of course, at the end of the day, there's going to be the same powers of ALM as everything else. Other features, of course, user roles and administration and authorization. Well, this is important, right? Remember I said there's external and internal users. You know what they were using portals for before? They were using for like a COVID testing app. Municipalities were using this, so people from in their municipality can go and apply to get a COVID test sent to their homes and things like that. And that's what they used it for. And they did it in bulk. There's an example of this in Power. But of course, that information needs to be private and all that stuff. So all that infrastructure has to be in place. Do we build it or do we just use it? There it is. All right, data table permissions. That's in Dataverse, of course. Setup and security. And oh, yes, most recently, remember I told you an app can be packaged, so it's just an app by itself. The same thing here. It can be an app by itself, but it will be called a personal web application, which is essentially a web page that's turned into an app. All right, let's not take a look at that one right now. That one will really head us down a rabbit hole. Power Automate, we might actually go into this one a little bit. All right, so this is the case of automation. This is our robot master saying, we shall automate you. There's two kinds of automation over here, or several kinds. There's business process. You got a business process you want to make follow based on what happens. Okay, that's all fine and well. And then there's the concept of essentially just simply doing something. All right, I just want to replay an action. So two kinds of things going on here. They call them the cloud flows, which are things that talk to those data connectors, and then they go ahead and do the quote unquote automation of doing work. I'll give you an example. Here's an Excel file. In the Excel file, I need to extract from it information from one Excel, and I want to put it in a different Excel and put it there. Do I need to go and record by steps and record this, record that to make it happen? No, I can actually call up what's called a cloud flow that has an instruction set, one of these things over here, and we'll show them, that connects to the Excel, does the work, does the work all in the background, and it just runs, no big deal. But what if that wasn't Excel? What if that was a tool like, oh, maybe it was Google Docs, Google Docs piece, and it needs to connect to a special application that we built in our company. So now I need to bring in what's called Power Automate Desktop, or do what's called RPA, Robotic Process Automation, where you're literally recording the steps, and our robot actually runs it in like a VM or a virtual machine in the background or in the cloud, and recreates the step as if it's a human clicking and doing things, and then you add logic to it so it clicks and it's smart enough to know what to do with what's going to happen with the click. Right, there's an example of the two major kinds of automation that comes through Power Automate. So let's take a look at an anatomy of a flow. Essentially, it works on any platform because, well, it's a service. It's happening behind the scenes. You can share these flows that you create like documents, just like the apps. The integration, of course, we're going to say the whole point of this is everything's going to be seamless with each other. Extensibility model, of course, why not? Well, just like the apps, you should be able to extend this. If I wanted to connect to something that doesn't exist yet, I'll build it as a developer and allow you as a flow person to connect to it, and done. The WYSIWYG experience, again, the concept is you drag and drop. This is not what you see is what you get. The concept is just like you would see a flow chart that says this is what's going to happen. That flow chart is your documentation, your piece. And so a lot of cases in the older systems, the flow may look a certain way, but when it actually runs, or rather when you want to document it, it looks totally different. But not so here. Data connectivity, we said this time they're just saying hundreds of services. They're not bothering to give you a number because they're trying to make this future-proof. And of course, underneath the covers is Dataverse to store the app data and everything else. A lot of this stuff, when flows run, there's going to be audit info. There's going to be all that stuff. Dataverse is under the covers running it. And of course, the logic and automation, you build it yourself. All right, flow components, essentially the way a flow works. Concept of the event and trigger. We'll look at that in a little bit. It'll perform a number of actions. So what does it have to do? It'll have conditional logic, if, then, when, whatever. And of course, you can trigger other flows. All right. And of course, again, all the connectors that you can use to be able to create a flow from. On the designer, let's take a quick look at the designer over here. There's the trigger right on top. When something happens, when, in this case, when a request was created in SharePoint, in this case, the scope, where it's going to happen. The action, the actual item that happens. The condition, well, when something happens, where do we go? What do we do next? And you can see the flow name over there. It's very straightforward, very easy. Knowing, by the way triggers work, and this is why I'm here now talking about this. Essentially, triggers can run manually. The user can click a button to make something happen, or they can run on a schedule, a certain time, or they can run based on some action, not necessarily user action, but some event that goes on, run an event. So that means, a new SharePoint list was created. Okay, that's an event, right? It doesn't mean that the user action was created, because it could have been created by an automatic process itself. So follow these steps based on that information. Triggers are important to know how they work, because that's the difference between paying a license or not paying a license. If the trigger for a workflow is, say, someone adding something in SharePoint, it's free. If the trigger for the workflow is because someone added something in Dataverse or SQL Server or something else, or maybe an API, you got to pay for that. That's premium, because that requires, well, a little bit more than just talking to the basics. So that's why it's important to know. Actions, essentially number of steps that run after the trigger. There were some limitations to a lot of these, and they're slowly disappearing. So we're not going to go into those right now. The concept is like if all else fails and you need to connect to something, you can connect to an HTTP endpoint, which is basically a website with an API. And if there's no out-of-box connector, but truly, I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing to do, you'll do that maybe to test, just to try something out, but never, please do not, and never do an HTTP connector for something that you would put in production. If you find that you have to HTTP to something, make a real connector for it, a custom connector, if you will. And there's, by the way, wizards and samples to make those really quick. Use that instead. For automation for here, maybe we'll not show that one just yet. We'll get to that one a little bit. Let's go here for virtual agents for now. Bot services with zero code. Actually, we'll get to the Power Automate a little bit later, when I'm going to show you the pieces coming together with an app. All right, in this particular case, the idea over here is a virtual chat spot. This is expensive and not expensive at the same time. In Teams, if you do it in there, it's free. If you're doing this with another system that you're already paying for, it's free. When you're doing it by itself, you're not paying, by the way, for this. You're not paying for an individual bot. You're paying, in essence, for the bot to have so many, let's say, AI type instructions. So I'm going to be using Azure infrastructure in the back. I'm going to be doing stuff in my head, so to speak. It's essentially cycles of compute time that it uses, and they do it essentially in such tiny bits that whatever you're paying for means, like, for example, a bot can deal with thousands of questions from hundreds of people, and then basically charge you a small flat fee, small relative flat fee for all the power that it's getting. The virtual agents chatbots are literally no code. There is no code that's done here. There's zero. All right. The only time that you're doing code over here is if you're extending in this particular case. All right. So the concept here's a dashboard. Essentially, you can do you create a bot, and out of the box, by the way, it just works. It talks to you. You can say hi, and it'll talk back to you. It'll say basic stuff. But the concept over here on the dashboard is you essentially you have an interface that's easy. You monitor your dashboard. No, let me stop for just a moment here. You might have thought that maybe I'll put up a bot and all is good. We're all done. You'll see that Microsoft right away focuses that on the second thing that they want to talk about is the fact that we're monitoring and we're doing continuous improvement on the bot's performance, or rather, it's not doing the improvement for you. You're the one, you're the owner of this, the owner of the bot. Just like you have a kid, right? The kid's very, very smart kid, but you don't just let the kid go. You essentially have to see how the kid's doing, because every so often you have to guide said kid. To guide said kid, you first have to know what the heck they're doing. And this is what that is. What they're saying is, we're using the AI to give you the kind of data that you need so that you can now make a decision to help make the bot better. Maybe it'll say, maybe if I had more data, it might say, I might be able to make a better decision because you didn't like my decision. Okay, fine. That's what we'll do. We'll get the data, we'll get that out there and everything else. But without those monitoring tools, you won't know if people are using your bot, or people are happy about using the bot, they're getting the answers that they want, or that it's performing fast enough. It seems to take too long. And instead of like finishing out the questions, people are abandoning the use of the bot and saying, I want to talk to a real person, you know, halfway through all the time. What's going on over there? You need monitoring tools to make that happen, and they're built into this system. All right, and oh, this is cool. We did this in M365 and everything else, but technically speaking, it's an endpoint, so you can actually stick it on a website or somewhere else, or put it in the Power App, for example, and it will just work. Extracting topics. I like this one over here. Remember that AI modeler where we saw we're extracting data from all this stuff? That same technology is used by this system. Say you wanted to point it to an FAQ or a website, and instead of me writing any, you know, topics or any of these other pieces to create my answers and my choice of answers, it will just make one up for you. It learns from what it gets. And then all you have to do is tweak, if at all. Essentially, you can author your rich topics, you can fill up slots, do variables. Entity extraction means I can say, if someone says something, I can look at their answer and say, hey, look for nouns that mention Mrs. Markle or something, and then do something based on that. That's the idea of getting that power. And of course, extending the bot with the framework. Let's take a look at what the virtual agent's got. Essentially, it can run anytime, anywhere. Of course, the reduced cost essentially means that if you were going to have to build this and run it on your own infrastructure, you'd have to pay. The interface is anywhere, of course. You see it over here in that screen, but like I told you, that you'll be seeing bots really inside of Teams, inside of an app, or inside of a web page. That's really when they say anywhere. The design interface is intuitive. Well, we're gonna pass on that one because that's as intuitive when you really learn it. All right, natural language conversion. What's nice, and this is getting better every time, and I'm not going to say that it's probably going to have a leap coming up soon thanks to recent news. But in this particular case, that when someone asks a bot, it's like, tell me about, I want to know, I feel that I don't know anything about. It has all this stuff that it's learned from previous stuff that Microsoft has applied, that it can answer questions without you having to set up the topics, or if they say something like this, they might mean that. You don't have to do any of that at all. Connectivity means it connects to the same data that everything else would look for. The analytics, of course, has to mention that, and the insights. What's our scenario here? Here's our scenario that they tried to solve. The concept, like I just did a chat with an agent. Hey, I want a refund. Okay, let's go back and forth. And then they go through and they're typing, thanks for holding, you're processing your order and doing all this stuff. And this is a case where, like, an example where it took 18 minutes to get something done. And they said, hey, let's get a bot to do it. And then the agent says, hey, I'd like to do stuff. And someone says, I want a refund. You got these. And then they said, and then the person just selects from one of those links. Yep, your refund's done. You're done in a minute. It's a good sell job, right? If it really works that way, that's the idea. Make the bots better. That's just the analytics. Okay, that's just a deep dive into that. Extending the bots. Okay, that's for the good old demos. We'll take a look at that one a little bit later as well if we have time. Power BI. Power BI is the original granddaddy of the Power Platform because it has the word power in it. It came right after Excel, and before it was Power Platform, it was actually Power BI. Power BI, the only difference is, though, a Power BI, and we're going to look at this one. We're definitely going to take time to look at this one. Power BI is about the data, and the concept of the environment, like in Power Platform, is not there. This is a workspace. But the idea of this is to make data work very well. Essentially, it's Excel. It's beyond Excel. It's beyond reporting services. It's beyond Tableau to bring all these pieces in to make that happen. All right, and let's take a look. And the concept is your Power BI is a dashboard. It's not just a report. It's a dashboard. You connect to any kind of data source, literally any kind of data source. If you don't see it, you make a connection to it. You can share insights with anyone. The concept is there's what's called on-prem, which means to people in your organization. You can put it in the cloud. You can send it to people on the outside. This is like out of the box with Power BI. Seamless integration, just like anything else, because anything that's already in an M365 and everywhere else, it's going to be able to connect to it really quick. Extensibility, again, developers can come in, make their own, maybe make their own visualizations, make their own really cool looking pieces that work with it, make their own formulas to make things happen. The WYSIWYG, again, once you put it in here, what you see in the development environment pretty much is the report as it's played out. You're working on it like it's live. Of course, the visualizations, of course, it says hundreds. That's probably going to increase. And this is the stuff that come out of the box, that are built by the public and built by companies that are actually charging for their special visualizations. Native intelligence, you can actually, so there's a lot of the AI is actually built into here. They even have a visualization that says, if you can actually say in English, how many widgets were sold last week? And because it's connected to that data, it'll give you the answer in plain English. X widgets were sold last week, and literally will give that. So it has the native intelligence built in. Big data support, of course, the big difference here with Power Apps and even the other pieces. When you bring in data to those, the whole point of them is you're manipulating, you're collaborating with data. When you're doing this, you're doing reports. So you're doing reports, you're going to need all the data that you can see. So you need to have that support for big, humongous data. Right, here's an example of someone really going to town using what's called a scrim over here to create their pieces. And that's just an example of how crazy people can get with this. And here's the ideas. The interface, as you can see over here, it almost looks like old school Excel, right? With the pieces that are up over here, the visualizations, everything that you break through, looking at fields, nice and easy for working at it. And because it's a service, that was a client, that was the desktop, by the way. You can actually quickly and look at it from the web, right? There's a desktop, there's the web, and then of course all of that works in mobile as well. Connect to any data. I think we talked about that a little bit. Transform and shape the data. This is a very important thing. When you're bringing stuff into Power BI, it's sure there's raw data that's in there, but you can actually do transforms and create whole new models of the data just in the BI itself, in the basically the dashboard area itself. And you can make your own combinations of the data, and you don't have to worry and not even touch or muck with the data where it came from. You don't have to call the SQL developer, hey, can you make a view for me that does this and blah, blah. You don't have to wait for them. You go ahead and just do it from here. All right, again, visualizing the data, showing all the cool things you can do. You can mix and match, put them on top of each other. You can really go to town. Finally, of course, you can publish, share, and embed. What do I mean by embed? As you can see, there's Power BI sitting inside of Teams. There's Power BI just simply as a file. There's, again, more Power BI just as files that you can actually select over here. You can actually embed them into Power Apps. And by the way, you can embed Power Apps into Power BI as a visual. So imagine, here's your Power BI. It's got a report, and you have a button in there that says, edit my data. And then that becomes the app. Remember that card? You can do a card, or you can just do the app inside of the Power BI, or vice versa, right? The report, instead of having like a grid in Power BI and Power Apps that just doesn't fit, doesn't get all the data, just bring the Power BI straight in there, look at the report, maybe click, so you can make a PDF from the report. Okay, great. This one, we're going to take the time to take a look at this guy. So let's go to Power BI over here, and the same way we fell into it. Let's go see if we can find that over here. Here we go. Here's Power BI. The concept of Power BI is what's called the workspace. It's not the same. Important thing to learn here today. Power BI workspace is not a Power Platform environment. It's totally its own thing. A workspace is simply where the reports and its data and all that stuff. Maybe I'll do this another time. Lives, right? So here's some, for example, reports that are in my particular workspace or available to me from whichever workspace that's out here. You see this? I have like a COVID tracker dashboard, some statistics and everything else, because I can connect to all these pieces over here. I wonder what they still look like. I haven't been here in a while, But here's the idea. So I'm going to go to, I'm just going to check to see if this works. Is this still working? Oh, yes, it is. It is still working. All right, so I can refresh the data and reconnect. I'm not sure. I don't know if this is up to date at the moment, but this is, we're looking at it from the, web. All right, so over here, this is basically non-editable. This is just a report straight up. At this point, I can edit it if I wanted to over here and just do that kind of edits, or I could bring it down. I can share this report to make links or makes edits, or I can open it up directly. Let's go back for just a second. Yeah, it keeps asking me, but not right now. For example, over here, adding to favorites, I believe there's a way to download something. I need to be able to download a report. 1 second. Let's see if this still will. Let me go and open this one. This is the COE. Comes with, by the way, its own Power BI reports, which actually is nice to learn from. Let's go ahead and open it for just a second. We saw my workspace, and there's some workspaces over here. And again, with other apps that can work. And check it out. It almost looks like oh, this one has the, there's an app that's in there. Of course, that's developer environment. I already killed that. But anyway, so that was an example of an app that was built into the Power BI dashboard. It was as an example. So it's doing its connection and everything else. But here's what it does. It actually puts in all, it's working. That's an app, by the way. This is a Power app working inside of a Power BI dashboard. So that's actually cool. Just trying to see, here we go. Let's do export. You see this over here? I can analyze it in Excel. I can send it out to PowerPoint to reuse it, or I can make a PDF from it. Or I can do this file. I can save a copy of the whole thing. All right, let's see what happens when I save a copy. And a name for a report. It's like copy this. All right, and I want to see, where do I want to put it? I want to put it in my workspaces. Okay, so I'm going to save a copy of the report over there. So it's going to go, let it go. All right, but otherwise the key to Power BI is the PBX. Here we go. I'm opening up the desktop right now while this is going on. And we're waiting for just a moment. Now, it's really important to know that Power BI, if you're trying to get a certification, especially for the Power Platform stuff, you actually have to know more Power BI than you feel that you may need to know, because it is part of the test. The idea is they don't want you playing and mucking with data and trying to recreate the wheel all the time in Power Apps or anything else. The idea is no Power BI, because you need to know when you go from one to the other, and you need to know how those things work, because you should not get stuck because you're stuck. So, oh, by the way, I'm opening up Power BI over here and picking an account. Hang on a second. It's going into my next machine. Stand by. Right now, it's still refreshing over here. Let's not worry about that. I can actually go to another page, so it stops doing that. There we go. Hang on. Trying to, by the way, so when you open up Power BI, the data, you can choose whether the data gets updated automatically or stays put. You can actually and I wish you could see this, but this is now showing up on a different screen. But hold on a second. It basically gives you like, well, what would you like to look at? So I'm going to just open up a piece of data. Come on. It won't let me move it. Stand by. That sound you were hearing, I didn't share sounds, but the sound basically says, sorry, I'm busy. Don't touch me. Hold on.
Hey,
Working
Ralph,
on it.
it's 7:01. Just letting you know. Time check.
Okay, we're almost done here. Sorry, we started a few minutes late. Stand by.
That's fine. I'm just letting you know. Doing a good job.
I'm waiting for this Power BI on the other screen to open up. And here we go. This is the Power BI desktop. All right, the concept of the Power BI desktop, as you can see, it's updating for data over here. Just some key pieces over here. is the fact that you can look at, right, there's our charts and our dashboards and our pages. Remember these pages you saw on the side? Those are these down here at the bottom. All right. And then you can take a look at the data. For example, in this particular case, there are table tools that you can mess with. So here's date, there's a geography, there's manufacturer tables over here. And then you have your structure, your model. Give it a moment. It's a bit slow to show up. There we go. Check it out. For those who are really data heads, you can go as crazy as you want. When you bring in data, when you go and get data from all of these different sources, look at that, from a web page or anything else, data feeds, other data sets, you name it. You can muck with it after the fact. You can create hubs for data. You can, as you can see over here, it's very, very fast. Here's a transformation, managing relationships and everything else. Go back to the visualizations. And as you can see, just on the visualizations alone, there are so many more visuals. And by the way, where it says get more visuals, you can actually go online, purchase them, or get whatever you want going through them. So this is actually a really cool example. By the way, if you take the dashboard in the day course, you will learn how to create this dashboard right here. All right, that's it for Power BI right now. Let's go ahead and finish up with a few of the last pieces here. All right, key services really quick. Some of the shared features, the common data framework, that's the Dataverse. The PowerFX, we saw that language. The AA modeler, we saw that earlier also. There's administration and management tools. All right, something called the process analyzer, which is Power Automate. I didn't show that one today. We're going to have a different session for that for sure, though, because this is actually very important. The concept is something that was done already in a flow, or just you recording your steps. It'll come up and give you ideas and where to go. There's now OpenAI and GPT-powered AI helpers that are in the system. I only showed you one example with the AI piece, but there's a lot more than that. In the case of Power Automate, you can actually type in what kind of flow I want, and it actually builds the flow for you. But that'll be for another time, because that's its own thing to look at. Admin centers, and of course, managed environments with all the support that you need. Key, of course, is there's an open source, community-focused, but Microsoft-supported tools, I should say. And there's a whole bunch of them for admin and management. You can go take a look at another time. We're not going to have time to look at those right now, but actually I think some of those we sort of previewed earlier. We saw the community. We saw a little bit of that earlier. All right, so going really quick. We are now at the point where you can ask us a question that might have been burning through the out. Maybe if you wanted to see that Power Automate a little bit more, but I see Power Automate should be its own look. The Power Apps, though, is pretty much the best description of all Power Platformy stuff in one place, if we were going to describe it. Okay, but otherwise, just here's some, by the way, some quick next steps to find more information. I'm just going to leave that one up there while we deal with any other little questions that we have. That we almost fit it in an hour because we started a little bit late, but we got through it. Is there anyone left still awake?
Yes, I'm here. It
Yes.
seems like you can build mobile apps or tablet apps that work quite well on the desktop.
Yes.
And so with the pages,
Yes.
I guess that's just really for external people who want to be able to use those applications.
Oh, that's a very good thing. In fact, a lot of people think that the pages are just only so the external people can use it, but so you might as well just use Power Apps for the people that are internal.
Mhm.
Not so. Here's the thing. Your 2,000 people in your organization, right? Those 2,000 people would need to have a license at $20 retail in order to use a Power App that was talking to, say, Dataverse data. All right, that's very expensive. Now, imagine those same people go through a page, because all they're doing anyways, maybe they're going to a form, filling out the form, hitting OK, and then seeing the result of that data. They don't necessarily need an app. What they needed was a place to enter the data and to see something. If I did it with a page, those 1,000 people, maybe they're not always accessing it every day. Maybe at most 200 people at a time will be using it, or maybe only 100 users a week, because they come in once in a while or once a year to enter their data. So now I can set it up so it's cheaper. At 50 cents pay-per-view, as they say, or pay-per-use, I should say. Not even pay-per-use. It's actually per month access is coming in. They can just come in. Once they're in, they can use that data. There's not much they can do to it. They can't exactly share that page to anyone else. They're just doing that work. So this is for external people. What if we created a system that say, I have vendors that need to collaborate with the salespeople. All right, now I can create one system that the vendors can access and the salespeople can access. Aha, the apps would have only worked for the salespeople. The vendors, I would have had to bring in as guest users with licenses and all that stuff to make that work with the salespeople. Aha, Power Pages now to the rescue, be able to provide services to both of them.
Nice, thank you.
Sure thing. Yeah, they thought about this carefully. They said, well, how do we fill that gap? It's like the biggest gap was working with the outside, or for that matter, the other big gap was the people who said, why should I pay, up the nose for something very, very simple that I can get WordPress to do, for example, or a SharePoint site to do. Yes, I got it. So far, so good. Some of the things that I recommend you might get in the mail, especially when you start using Power Apps and Power Automate. Sometimes you find yourself on the Microsoft mailing list. I wonder how that happens, right? And it says, hey, you're invited to come to an app in a day. Click here to register. Companies like Pragmatic and a few of the other ones, they'll do them for you, and then they stream it on YouTube, so you can actually watch it again later on. They give you files that you get to play with, and of course, now that you saw about the environments, oh, let me finally finish with the one thing that I forgot to show you today, which everyone now can get. I'm going to show you how to get a free dev tenant, and here we go. We type in Microsoft, we call it M365 Developer Program. Just type in that search term, M365 Developer term, and then you wait for, is that Jar Jar Binks? No, that's a camel. Hold on a moment. That's it. No, it's a giraffe. I did a search. What happened? This is not the ChatGPT search, is it? I typed in, and come on, where's it going? Here we go. It's just slow. It had to wait for the giraffe to go. All right, so here we go. You see this M365 Developer Program. You click on it. Hold on a second. That's the welcome. Hold on. Let's find this again. Developer Program down here. Watch out for advertising. Advertising up front. This is it. Join the M365 Developer Program to join today. Join now and use an email of your choice. My suggestion is personal email. All right, unless you want to, if you use your company one, if you leave your company, you won't be able to access this thing that you've created from here. But if you use your own personal one, you're going to get a domain called whatever you want its name, .onmicrosoft.com. It is, what is it? It's a quote unquote sandbox. It's an E5, which is the most powerful of the Microsoft subscriptions for M365 with, and it, by the way, it's 90 days, but it automatically renews as long as you're using it. Automatically, very important, automatically renews. Even though it says it expires, it automatically renews. You're given an administrator account. You have access to all Office 365 apps. All Power Platform development off the bat is available, but it won't give you everything for free. Some cases you click on something, it says you need to buy or try something. You can at least start up trials now with this. Remember the developer environment we talked about? Remember when we saw in environments and we could go in there and we saw a list of those environments? We could go new environment, click on developer and do that 3 times for each of the users in our tenant over here. And by the way, it comes in with some fake data you can load up, like all the Contoso users you can load up. So you can actually pretend data. You can use this for your own development for something else as sample data. It has security, Azure Active Directory, sample data packs, there they are. Of course, support. If you ask for support in a dev tenant, they will treat you like you're a real customer. I'm serious. You go in there and support, oh, I can't figure out how to connect my pieces, and you hit the support, you will actually get a person, and they will tell you, hey, is this really important? Then we'll have someone contact you at 2 in the morning if that's okay. No, it's okay. Call, send me an email or something. and they will treat you on the same level. They know it's a dev tenant under the covers, but their point is they're going to give you the same level of support. But just like a regular tenant, if the same level of support is going to be more premium even then, of course, it's going to be the same thing here. But for the most part, I almost learned how to do a lot of this M365 admin just by using that by itself. So this is the most important thing you can get today. If you don't have one, get your own free tenant and you have the full power. You're an administrator. Give all the licenses to anybody you need and make it go. Just don't do work with it because they have AI and it will see if you're trying to spam people or trying to use it for business. Okay, that was the last thing I promised for today.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, it won't ask for a credit card. It won't.
Thank you very much for the
You're very welcome.
talk.
Thank you, Ralph. I have to drop if anybody else wants to stick around and talk to Ralph, but I have,
Yeah, I can stick around for a little while if somebody needs to talk or if everyone wants to get out of here, as they say, and have dinner and relax, or not dinner. Some people are waking up depending on the time zone.
Yes.
Got work to do.
All right. Thanks again, Ralph. I'll talk to you later.
All
Everybody
right.
else, thanks for coming.
You're
And
And
we
Raquel, are you
appreciate
still
it.
out there? You can. I think we can hit the stream to end. That's my daughter, who's a major producer, going to win an Emmy and pay for all of this.
All right. Well, good night.
Thank you so much and thanks Raquel for streaming us on the web.